What do we got? We've got facial expressions. I didn't get many of these, but I honestly thought that they were a bit iffy. What green screen have we got here? This is me being silly yesterday. All right, let's try to get a better facial expression because I just have a quick point I would like to mention and then get out of here. Let's have this nice garden and see what we can do. All right, I'm not sure, chats, but look, what's the point? The point was that as a kid, it was much harder to find information. For example, I'd have to like ride my bicycle down to the library and then try to look up a book, and hopefully what I wanted was in there, but then you get caught up with other things that were in there that you didn't know you were looking for. So you end up just reading and reading all day and pumping your brain full of what seemed to be at least agreed upon facts. Um, what, what was I getting to? I found that as I got older, of course, um, well, we were one of the few people, I think, who had encyclopedia in the house, but maybe I was one of the few that read the thing. I would spend a lot of my time just reading through them. And then we got older and things were on CD. And then, of course, we had Wikipedia. After Wikipedia, now we end up with Gemini. And when it is so obvious that there is information that contradicts one's worldview, you would think that there would be less contradictions. And that was based on a false assumption, which I've come to realize after 40 years was false. And the falsity was that as soon as knowledge became available, and that knowledge could be the awareness of a contradiction that would then contradict whatever narrative was in your head, that therefore the contradiction would cease. And of course, I've noticed that as information become more and more abundant, and the ability to seek out information or ability to to find contradictions in one's own argument by searching for them online via someone who is criticizing your particular viewpoint or the viewpoint that has possessed you or that you've adopted or you think you've adopted. You would think that those contradictions would cease, and they didn't. It's almost like humans remained in general immune to having their mind changed. And this was an interesting concept for me. I thought to myself, why is this happening after all these years and multiple generations? That's one of the beauties you get to see. As a kid, you see people who are 20 and 30 acting in a certain way. Then you become 20 and 30 and you see them act in a certain way. Then you become 40 and you see 20 and 30-year-olds act in a certain way. And each time they think they're doing something new when it's not really the case at all. And I thought to myself, what's going on? And there had to have been an explanation. So the explanation was that there had to be some sort of immunity or resistance to information coming through, right? And what was that resistance? And over many years of exploring this and going through different arguments, you start to recognize that it is that there is a mechanism within humans that seeks possibly to know something to some degree. Hello. But it sort of has a resistance when the truth becomes too uncomfortable. And it's normally the case that it is uncomfortable truth about oneself that one can't accept. And so there's some sort of resistance to that. And so it stops new knowledge coming in that could then remove the idea, the false idea that they had, and upgrade the idea, or remove the idea and replace it with a new idea that's less self-contradictory. So now we move to Gemini, where Gemini can immediately read through a text and find its contradictions. Now, this is quite a fascinating thing, because if it is reading through a text which you don't particularly hold sacred, then it's quite easy to see the contradictions. But when it talks about something which you are convinced is true, then the contradictions become something you can rationalize, and you say Gemini is wrong, for example. Or you don't even look it up because you don't want to know what those contradictions are. Or you might also say, oh, look at the contradictions in the people who made Gemini, for example. There'll be some twist to it, which doesn't really make sense, apart from the fact that it is too painful for someone to accept what would destroy their sense of purpose, their sense of meaning, And I find this fascinating, and I think that this is a severe limitation of humans, which is one of the reasons I think they'll cease to exist in this form over the next period of time. It's just not possible. What I said was very abstract, and I'm careful to be abstract because I don't want to target anyone's particular belief. And do I think this will change anything? No, I don't think so. I think there might be one person in 100 who reads this and goes, oh yes, maybe my beliefs are incorrect. Maybe what I'm processing is something about myself is not correct. That doesn't happen. It's very easy to find faults in others, and it's unbelievably easy. And I say that for all of us. I know if I didn't go through absolute hell, I wouldn't have come to the point where I was able to look at my own flaws and think, wow, that's an actual flaw. But I'm a good person. How can that happen? Um, that's surely something that runs through people's minds. Um, if there were more questions about one's particular position, I might have gotten into it. But you can see it everywhere, whether it's in politics, whether it's in religion, whether it's in personal opinions, conspiracy theories, etc. And you'll notice, if you look hard enough, that you have your own. But will you look hard enough? No, it's too difficult. Everything in your life that gave you pleasure, everything that helped you wake up in the morning, all of that, if you were to realize was not stable under scrutiny, I think that's not something most humans could bear. And so they would rather live with a semi-fiction that helps them live than a reality that helps them die. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I think it's a function of being a human, which is why I think something that's has the ability to move past that will supersede us. Anyway, I'm going. I'll see you later.